living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
There are all kinds of health conditions that affect all of us, no matter our gender. But did you know they may affect us differently because of our gender? The same illness may show different symptoms in men than they do in women, and knowing those differences could be life-saving. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm your host, Beth Brown. Today, we have a battle of the sexes, but we're focusing on how we can all battle common health conditions. Don't go away. Welcome back. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America, taking the lives of more than 600,000 men and women every year. But the risks and symptoms can be different in women than they are in men. We start this morning talking about heart health with Dr. Douglas Kunzweiler and family nurse practitioner Erin Kunzweiler. Thanks for being with us today. So, Dr. Kunzweiler, maybe we could start with you. Can you first talk about what we mean when we say heart disease? What conditions fall under that umbrella?
Well, there are a lot of different kinds of heart disease. You can be born with problems where your heart's not formed right. You can have trouble with your valves in the heart. You can have trouble with the rhythms of your heart. But mostly what we're talking about is clogging of the arteries that causes what people think of as heart attacks.
Okay, and are there certain heart diseases that develop with age that we should be more aware of as we get older?
Yeah, and again, heart attacks are more common as we get older, and it's a dynamic process where the arteries slowly plug with deposited cholesterol and fat, and then a clot forms around that, and that cuts off the blood flow to part of the heart, and then that muscle dies if it doesn't get fixed in time.
Okay. Does heart disease develop differently in men than it does in women?
The process is the same in both, although it tends to develop later in women. They get some protective effect, we think, from estrogen, but the process is the same. However, women often have slightly different symptoms than men do.
Okay, so you mentioned the heart attack. Let's talk about the symptoms for that. First of all, the similarities. Men and women can experience similar heart attack symptoms. What are those?
The main thing that people complain of is chest pain, or sometimes they'll just say heaviness or tightness. It feels like there's an elephant sitting on my chest. They may also have shortness of breath. They may have nausea. They may feel lightheaded. They may break out in a sweat. And the symptoms may be experienced in other parts of their body, the neck, the jaw, the shoulders, the arms, for instance.
Okay, and then what are some of the symptoms that might vary depending on your gender?
In women, their symptoms tend to be more subtle. They don't complain so much of chest pain. They complain more of shortness of breath, feeling lightheaded, or heaviness. They're less likely to complain of pain the way men do.
Okay, I read that women complain of or often suffer what's called a silent heart attack. What is that?
Basically, that's one without chest pain, where they have dizziness or they have shortness of breath, or maybe they are just sweaty and don't feel quite right, but they don't have the classic chest pain that we think of.
Okay. So what's your advice then for both men and women who aren't sure whether their symptoms are a heart attack?
Well, anytime you're worried about that, you should seek care. And the best way to do that is to call 911 and have an ambulance come. Our medics are trained to diagnose heart disease in the field, and that's really the quickest way to get the care that you need.
Okay, great. So Erin, maybe we could turn to you now and talk a little bit about strokes. Heart disease can lead to stroke. Is there a difference between men and women when it comes to stroke?
Women are more likely to have a stroke, and some of that correlation is with age. Women tend to live longer than men, so we have a higher incidence of stroke. But the risk factors for heart attack or stroke are really the same for men and women. And I think it's important, Doug had said, about calling 911, but the other thing For prevention in regards to stroke or heart attack is seeing your primary care provider on a regular basis so you can identify risk factors, whether you're a woman or a man, and treat risk factors to prevent a stroke or heart attack from happening. So whether that be if you're diabetic or have high cholesterol, overweight, things like that, I think prevention is key to prevent people from ending up in the ER.
Okay.
So.
Great, and I understand too that women become more susceptible to heart disease or heart issues after menopause because of the role that hormones play. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, menopause doesn't cause a heart attack. We think there might be a correlation. Estrogen has an effect on the lining of our blood vessels, making them more elastic and flexible. And when we lose that estrogen and that effect goes away, the risk goes up. But some of that too is age-related,
Okay, and as you mentioned, the good news here is that heart attack, stroke, they are preventable. Heart disease is preventable. Is there anything else that you would throw out to folks of what they can do to make sure they prevent a heart, or at least help prevent a heart attack or a stroke?
I think the basic things that we talk about, healthy diet, physical activity. There's been a lot of research on sedentary life, and moving daily is really important.
Okay.
Some of the biggest risk factors are smoking, diabetes, high blood pressure. So if you're a smoker or you live with a smoker, you should do everything you can to reduce your exposure to that. And you should see your primary care physician to take care of diabetes or high blood pressure if you develop those conditions.
Okay, great. Are there things that women should be doing more than men, or men should be doing more than women, or is prevention the same regardless of your gender?
I would say pretty much
think
the
it's the
same.
same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot of difference when it comes to prevention.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's all the time we have for that topic. We've tackled the big one by addressing some of the things that come with heart health, but we're just getting started. Next, we'll talk about another major health issue that affects both men and women, cancer. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.